We know that there are limitless ways to make a coffee drink, but this simple double espresso with frothed milk in a small cup is my champion of coffee drinks. It's been that way because first, it has almost all if not most of the components of being a barista. Second, it's simple and economical enough without being too dull. Third, it's approachable for most people. And finally, the last one, which I admit is a bit subjective, is that it can level up your understanding of coffee much faster compared to any other drinks, as it's simple but not to the point where it's underappreciated. The drink itself has often been referred with different names. Some define it as the Piccolo, the Cortado, the Magic, the Gibraltar, and I might not have mentioned all of them. Regardless, for all intents and purposes, let's ignore the minor variations these names give and refer to this drink as the Piccolo. I'll define it as a double ristretto on a small, approximately 140ml cup, in which the remaining are filled with steam milk and its wet foam. In this video, I aim to teach you how to make one. As someone who feels worthy of listening, many are not hearing me very well, but that's okay. And share my opinion why I am an ardent proponent of the Piccolo. First, I would like to talk about the core of the Piccolo, which is the double ristretto. Why ristretto, you may ask? A ristretto has two unique characteristics, which are its different volume and taste profile. For the volume, it's pretty self-explanatory, as going with a ristretto gives you more freedom to put more milk without reducing the actual coffee amount. That would actually be pretty neat for our purpose here. Secondly, the taste profile has some differences compared to a regular espresso. Ristrettos are generally espressos with a shorter brew time and, therefore, a smaller shot. This results in a very different brew profile. Let me visualize it for you with some imaginary graphs. For instance, if you are brewing espresso, you are probably looking at something like this. You have the yield, which is the amount of espresso in your cup, and along the brew, the amount of espresso in your cup will increase, represented by this red line. Once you stop your shot when you reach your yield, say here with 36 grams, the line stops going up. Now let's add another line, the extraction rate of the solids in your coffee. This might be difficult to grasp initially, but let me explain. This blue line represents how much dissolved solids get from your coffee ground to your espresso. While espresso is being brewed, different compounds are being extracted. This blue line starts a bit higher and then goes gradually lower because different compounds are being extracted. In the first few seconds, most of the compounds extracted are the ones that give the sweet, intense and thick mouthfeel of the espresso. These compounds are the easiest to extract. As you progress towards the end, you will only see other compounds that are harder to extract left to dissolve. These compounds often bring the nuances of your coffee, which can be complex flavors or specific taste notes. Mix them in a cup and you should have a perfectly balanced espresso. Now if you say you stop at 27 grams, you will have a ristretto instead. But notice that you will not get the last seconds of the brew, which is terrible, or is it? Well, it really depends on who you ask and what your goal is. In the Piccolo case, we are not drinking the ristretto as it is, we are adding milk. In this context, the ristretto is probably better, as we are getting the steamed milk to cover the loss of the complex flavors while retaining the primary flavors of the coffee. Here I'm brewing a double ristretto. I'm using the same typical coffee preparation for a regular double espresso. 16 grams of coffee and the same grind size. Now as we approach our target yield of 25.5 grams, we stop the shot. This results in a 1 to 1.5 ratio, around the ballpark of what you'd aim for these kind of double ristrettos. It's also very important to note that I'm using a medium to dark roasted coffee, which is a bit darker than what I usually use. The reason for this decision was that medium or medium light roasted coffee is a little bit more prone to be under extracted using this ristretto approach. Hence, this is to avoid the extraction issue becoming a significant concern. With the ristretto done, I'll proceed to the next step, which is the froth milk. Shouldn't be really complicated here. You just have to fill the rest of the cup with froth milk and you're pretty much set. Here's what I also like about choosing a ristretto instead of a regular one. The milk you put here is just enough to enhance the coffee. You won't diminish or barely do anything to the coffee as you would do with other drinks. I'm fully aware that choosing ristretto is not a bulletproof approach. If you force a ristretto, that is, deliberately under extracting the espresso too much, you'll still end up with a horrible drink. This is probably worth its own discussion, but I'll leave that on another video. However, unlike smaller drinks, like the macchiato, or even the same drink with an espresso instead of a ristretto, you have enough milk to play around to the point where the quality of the steamed milk matters. You can also make the Piccolo much more vibrant with latte art, which will add another layer to the coffee drinking experience. This isn't as easy to do with smaller drinks. So with that being said, I hope that defines the Piccolo very well. Let's talk about my enthusiasm next. In my personal opinion, coffee drinks should not be viewed just for the sake of their general perception and impression. We like to think coffee drinks as black or white. For instance, without or with milk, immersion or percolation, manual or machine brew, mentioning a few examples. This is as if the worlds don't mix. The Piccolo is in a unique position where the black and white mix, at least a little bit. The Piccolo represents a position in the coffee spectrum, smack bang in the middle. It's a strong coffee drink that still has a substantial amount of milk, that neither mutes nor does barely anything to the espresso. It's neither quick and easy, but not something that's very latte art focused, like the bigger cafe latte or the flat white. The preparation time is much slower than an espresso, but since there are still some latte art involved, the experience dimension is still more spiced up, from a regular espresso that is, without being as involved as other manual brew methods. Now, talking about outside the fundamentals of a coffee drink, in terms of learning curves, it's not that hard to master, but it's not easy either. It's also pretty economical, not calorie heavy, and is, in my opinion, both a textbook and a standardized test for baristas. The Piccolo can teach you many things about coffee, and will let you grow your skills effectively. It's a drink where most of the main parameters are evaluable. The Piccolo has the components of things like extraction, mouthfeel, temperature, how an additive like milk alters a drink, and how the presentation can change your perceived experience. I can't think of any other drink that fits into this precise category, which is why I endorse the Piccolo, and also its close variants, as the drink. I mean the drink. It can level up your understanding of coffee, and is also in fact probably the most effective way to learn about someone's knowledge about coffee, including yourself. So if you want to confirm that, I'd really appreciate it.